Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Nathan Drinkard. I'm Jay Wise. Thanks for spending some of your time with us. We're on Anchor, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on a bunch of other podcasting platforms, and we're also on the A Drink of Wisdom YouTube channel. You can check us out on all those locations. Drink, great to be back in the lab with you.
Yeah, it's always a good time to be in the lab, baby. You know what time it is. So, how everything with you, man? How things going with you and yours?
Great, ready to get going. You?
It's another day, another dollar. Got to give the streets what they need. We say what they don't, see what they want, and set your dinner plates because it's time to eat. But last but not least, let's talk some sports, baby. Let's roll, Jay. What we got?
All right, this is episode 13 of season 3, and we're going to talk Knicks Bulls and check in on the World Series and preview the weekend in college football. We're going to start in the NFL with Thursday Night Football, where there are no more undefeated teams in the league this year, as the Green Bay Packers went on the road to Arizona, and they take down the Cardinals 24-21. Cardinals had a late 12-play, 94-yard drive, came up just short when Kyler Murray was intercepted in the end zone by Rasul Douglas on a pass intended for A.J. Green. Aaron Rodgers on the night, 22 for 37, 184 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. Big night running the football from A.J. Dillon. He had 16 carries for 78 yards. And Aaron Jones had 110 all-purpose yards. Meanwhile, Kyler Murray, not a great night, 22 of 33, 274 yards, 2 interceptions. DeAndre Hopkins, 2 catches for 66 yards, but he would leave the game with an injury of some sorts. A.J. Green, 5 catches, 50 yards, and also 4 catches apiece for Christian Kirk and Zach Ertz. Jordan Hicks, 12 tackles in a losing effort. Drink, as I said, the Cardinals now have joined the ranks of the mortal. They have now lost a game. Did this, for you, did this put the Packers up top in the NFC?
Well, I would say this: when the Packers are full strength, we consider them one of the top, 3 teams in the NFC. They wasn't full strength, and they played a team that we consider, a little banged up. I'm not gonna, no J.J. Watt, et cetera. We seen DeAndre Hopkins. He wasn't 100%, even though he came out and gave it the old college boy try, as they call it. And he gave it what he could. But all in all, let's say, man, how could you not, at this moment, maybe call them one of the top 2 teams? I mean, listen, we still got the Bucks out here, we still got the Rams out here. You got to show respect to those teams, but this was a primetime clash against two of the top teams. So if this was college football, we would be saying, well, hey, this was like a Oregon and Ohio State type game here. Like, hey, we had one team that's a proven commodity in the top of the top of the conference, that being the Packers, and then we had a rising upcomer, coming up in here being the Cardinals, and we wanted to see if they was for real. Now, I would say this: I do still believe the Cardinals are a real team. However, as we seen last night, they have some things that now you have on tape that you can attack them with, and we seen that last night. And one thing I thought the Packers did well that the Cardinals didn't was they adjusted. I think the Packers went into this game knowing we're gonna try some things. It might not work, but as long as we can adjust make those in-game adjustments, we'll be just fine. Listen, we were just talking about this in the show. Think about this: defense coordinator, he gets put on the COVID-19 list. He doesn't make the trip. So they got this whole triangle of communication going on, from the DB coach to the linebacker coach to the player on the D line to the linebackers. I mean, it was fantastic to see over here. I equate it to a high level baseball game where you got the signals going left, right, up and down. You got to do what you got to do. I was impressed with that. And keep in mind, the mics in the helmet do go off after a certain amount of time. So these guys got to work to get these plays in and get these guys in the right position. And they was in the right position as well. So I can't listen. One thing I would say is when teams do bad, we tend to say, hey, what was the coaching? The lack of coaching, the bad coaching. What was the coach doing? What was the offense coordinator doing? What was the defense coordinator doing? What was the head coach think? When they do well, we say, man, those players went out there and really executed the scheme. Well, where do they get the scheme from? The coach. So if we say they execute the scheme during a good time, we have to acknowledge that Matt LaFleur and those two coaches that stepped in on the defense side of the ball and worked together in tandem, they say it's a team game, and they wasn't lying on that coaching staff last night. It was definitely a team game. We have to give them kudos, man. The Packers was fighting an uphill battle all night, and they just kept punching and kept punching and kept punching. They made Kyler Murray very uncomfortable. Kyler Murray had to work for everything he got. I mean, the easiest play they had last night was the Wildcat that Chase Edmonds just turned up and went straight into the end zone. I mean, that was the easiest play for him. Everything else was like tooth and nail. When, Kyler Murray got hit a few times last night. Like I said, DeAndre Hopkins, I don't know what he was arguing about on that first catch. You can't drag the defender 20 yards down the sideline and get away with it, DeAndre. Listen, you top 2 wide receiver in the league to me. I got it. But come on, man. You out here like an NBA player crying about, the call. That's not it. You cannot hook your fingers in his face mask and then drag him. You can't do that. They're going to call that every time. But you had that play, and then, I would be remiss if I ain't talk about AJ Green falling asleep in that last play in the end zone. AJ, listen, you too good of a wide receiver. You've been in the league too long to not understand when you're passing the ball and when you're running the ball. Now, I got it. Little confusion because you got Kyler Murray. We know if he breaks the pocket, he's prone to run. However, you didn't have any touchdowns. You didn't have any timeouts left, right? And if you run the ball in that instant and you get stopped short, you're fresh out of luck. So you kind of had to know a pass is coming. If you got trips on the left and you the solo man to the right, you gotta kind of know that I'm probably gonna be the guy to get this ball either on a fade or a back shoulder throw. Rasul Butler knew it was coming. I can tell you that right now. He knew it was coming. And, I don't know, man. Like, that miscommunication, I guess you can put it on Kyler Murray too, but in my opinion, I think that's A.J. Green's fault. I do think he's just too good of a player not to know what situation you're in. It's called situational awareness, and I felt like A.J. Green fell asleep. But to that credit, he might have fell asleep because, hey, the Packers defense came to play. I mean, you heard, I was listening to Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, they were saying, hey, the Packers defense, the secondary going to have some decision to make when Yair Rodriguez come back. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that because from what I seen, all I seen was Kevin King going to catch the bench. That's what I seen. Now, maybe I'm missing that, but I just think you bring in Yair Rodriguez, Rasul Butler. Evidently, he wants to play. He played very well last night, I thought. I got it. You just signed him off the Arizona practice squad. But, hey, another man's trash is another man's treasure. And that's what that was last night. He was the old diamond in the rough for the old Green Bay last night. I thought he played well. So maybe you got something in that secondary when Yair Rodriguez, because I know he ain't going nowhere. I know when he come back, he going to get his position. So I think you got some. Then, we always talk about this, one of Preston Smith, I think it was. Like one of the, because I don't remember. But the front line coming in, doing their thing, they kept pressure, I thought, on Murray all night. Man, and listen, I've been hearing all these good things about this offensive line for Arizona. But, man, let me tell you, it was a massacre in the trenches, baby. It just was on both sides of the ball for Arizona. So if I had to look at Arizona differently from after last night's game, I got to say, man, that trench work was a little questionable at best. Because, listen, you said this before the show. We always talk about this. Green Bay looks a little soft when they're playing the topper tier teams in the NFL, whether that's NFC or AFC. It don't really matter. They usually be more finesse. Last night, there was more power, baby. They brought the aggression. They brought the juice. they bought the Red Bulls, and they ain't talking the Wings. They came in there, they did their thing. And look, here's the thing, right? What another reason I have to give Matt LaFleur some credit, and I know that that's not your favorite guy right now, but listen, I gotta give him some credit. In that first series when Green Bay came out, they came out in a 3 wide receiver set, right? Randall Cobb and 2 dudes we barely know, right? We came out there, that didn't cut it. That they knew right off the rip when that possession was over, they was like, listen, this is not gonna work against the Cardinals. So what did they do? They went back to the lab. Aaron Rodgers talked to Matt LaFleur. What we want to do? Let's change the scheme. They went to the more of a two tight end set, power back set, and then AJ Dillon, Aaron Jones. They went to work they did. And I just tell you, in the future here, and I got it. You got Aaron Rodgers. So like Troy Aikman said, you would throw the ball more than you would run it. I got that, but dare I say, that looked like it could be a good identity for them. If those 2 guys stay healthy, I really like how they control the pace of the game. I really like that. Now, you get Devontae Adams back. He's not, he's not hurt. So, you're going to get him back probably next week. So it's probably a little hard to justify running the ball like that again once you get him back in the mix. But I tell you, man, Green Bay should not trail too far away from that. I mean, I really like how they control the pace of the game. And listen, as the season goes on, as the season gets colder and colder and colder, this might be a formula, a recipe for success. So, with all that said, man, look, kudos to the Green Bay Packers. They came. They made me look like a fool because I thought they was going to get the young smoke checker Ruski. I do think the Cardinals, as of now, still a elite level team. We need to see more. Hopefully, this not a downfall or a spiral of some sort. As of right now, I got to give them credit due for being 7-1, so they still up a tier in the NFC. But no, man, the Packers showed that we knew they was a legitimate mainstay. They showed they can get it done under any circumstance last night. I really appreciate the aggressiveness. And listen, man, hey, the Packers trying to make sure they trying to let the Bucks and the Rams and any other contenders know we here to stay.
I think both teams have some things they can kind of look at through a positive scope. But I think both teams should be greatly concerned, even though both teams are 7-1. But for the Packers, them out there getting the win, they were definitely the more undermanned team. We talk about Devontae Adams, Valdez-Scantling, Alan Lazard. Then you go over to the defensive side. You're talking about Jair Alexander, Zadarius Smith. I mean, when you talk about Alexander, Zadarius Smith, and Devontae Adams, I mean, those are 3 just huge contributors to that football team. So those are huge blows. And by the way, I didn't think Aaron Rodgers was all that good last night. I think situationally he was okay. The 2 touchdown passes to Randall Cobb. I mean, I like what he did there. But I thought, and maybe in some of it's probably due to just an inexperienced receiving core. We're out here breaking out the Google to find out who some of these people are. But still, all in all, it wasn't a great performance. But on the other side, it was good enough. It was good enough to get it done. And I thought defensively, Green Bay, that was a great performance. You talking about, we talked a little bit about, before the show about the defensive coordinator also being out. So they're out here, they got basically a dual defensive coordinator thing going where this guy's calling the coverage, that guy's calling, the rush or whatever. They get together, they do it in, 25, 30 seconds or whatever. They get it in Devondre Campbell, and there you go. I thought when Troy Aikman was describing that, I was like, okay, this is going to be a disaster. And they made it happen. So I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. And I think on the other side, the Green Bay Packers rushing attack was outstanding. And I thought that was the difference on that side of the ball. And really up front on both sides. You mentioned the Green Bay pass rush. Even without Zadarius Smith, you had Preston Smith, you had Rashawn Garrett, you had guys like Kenny Clark on the inside pushing the pocket. And they did. They really took that Cardinal offensive line to the woodshed. I mean, Kyler Murray was scrambling all night. I mean, even to throw the 50-some yard to Hopkins, I mean, he's out there throwing that off his back foot with somebody in his face. So, you know, between the Packers defense and the running attack, particularly A.J. Dillon, I thought for Green Bay's offense, that guy was the key. He plays with a level of physicality that Green Bay, it's useful. I know I was critical of that draft pick last year because you had Jones, you had Jamal Williams. Now that you don't have Jamal Williams, you still have that great 1-2 punch. It's an, I'd put it, that's got to be a top 5, 1-2 punch in the rushing attack. So I like what I see there. And I think you're onto something. I think, maybe that's, even with Devontae Adams coming back, Aaron Rodgers at an advanced age, there's something to be said for running the football, and they controlled the clock last night. They controlled the ball for over 37 minutes. And I think that had something to do with, the somewhat ineffectiveness of the Cardinals offense. Now, for the Cardinals, the thing I think I'd be concerned about is on the flip side, this is a defense that doesn't stop the run very well. And when you cannot stop the run, that just sets up everything else. Then you're vulnerable to the play action. And when that happens, you're really, it's very rare that you see a defense come out there that can, be upper echelon and be a champion defense that cannot stop the run. You have to start there. And they could not on too many occasions. A.J. Dillon's just, and a lot of plays, the Cardinals were there. They were filling the holes. They were there to make plays, and they just got out-muscled by A.J. Dillon. There's a play, I think it was a 4th and 1 that comes to mind. Jordan Hicks is in the lane. He's in the hole, and he just gets bowled over, at the point of attack. So they showed the graphic last night.
The touchdown by Aaron Jones with Isaiah Simmons.
Right.
That was all leg drive by Aaron Jones,
Right. So, yeah, I think and that's a rarity, like we said. Normally we talk about Green Bay, the 49ers games from, last year or a couple years ago. They come to mind. But we've been critical of Green Bay in terms of, how soft they seem to be. Last night they were the more physical team. I thought it made a great difference. The one thing I would say, and hold up, let me go here too. Forget the last interception to AJ Green. Forget that one. Tell me about the first one. I've never seen a quarterback throw a screen pass that hard. He threw an absolute bullet to whoever that was, and it bounces off the guy's hand. It's an interception. I couldn't understand what he was doing there. And then, and then you have Rondale Moore. He muffs a punt. Just bonehead rookie mistake. We get it. But that's the positive. If you want to spin this in a positive way for Arizona, they turned the ball over 3 times. Green Bay turned it over 0 times. And even so, they had a chance to win this game on the final possession. That's the biggest positive thing I can see for the Cardinals. And it was their first loss, and they've had some. The game when they went to Los Angeles and beat the Rams, that was pretty eye-opening. They've also taken 2 other physical football teams to the woodshed in the Titans and the Browns. When you start to look at teams who maybe they can replicate what the Packers were able to do last night, I think that's something teams should look to do. Well, those are 2 teams right there that you would think could run the football, keep Kyler Murray off the field, and they weren't able to do it. They got blown out. So I think even in the loss, we got to take Arizona seriously. But as much as I think both teams are, in the upper level of the NFC, both teams still have some serious issues to work on. And I think Tampa right now is the best team in the NFC.